far-reaching reactions. The president of the Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, I should say, boosting his well wishes, as well as Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. And now, just moments ago, we're getting word from the Kremlin that President
Bibi and Boris
his well wishes. But now this
gave
news
our
came to
president
us, by
well
the way,
wishes
just before 1 a.m. with that tweet. Let me show it to you again. This is what the president tweeted at 12:57 a.m. Flotus and I tested positive for COVID-19. We will begin our quarantine and recovery process immediately. We will get through this together. Now, that was followed up by the First Lady's tweet, who said this: as too many Americans have done this year, POTUS and I are quarantining at home. After testing positive for COVID-19, we are feeling good, and I have postponed all upcoming engagements. Please be sure you are staying safe, and we will get through this together. Now, the White House physician, Dr. Sean Connolly, put out a statement, a reassuring statement, saying the President and First Lady are both well at this time, and they plan to remain at home within the White House. He added, "Rest assured, I expect the President to continue carrying out his duties without disruption while recovering." Now, this news came just hours after longtime trusted aide Hope Hicks tested positive. She was with the President most recently on Wednesday at a rally in Minnesota.
Give him a lot of bed rest.
Debate on Tuesday and last Saturday at a rally in Pennsylvania. Also getting some good news from our Peter Ducey overnight that the Chief of Staff Mark Meadows has tested negative in his most recent test. All this is significant because within the White House, staff is tested daily, particularly those coming in close contact with the President. A little earlier, Fox News medical contributor Mark Siegel talked about the President's health risks. Listen.
Obviously, he's 74 years old. You know, he's overweight, but he doesn't have any of the other risks that we worry about, like diabetes, like lung disease, like heart disease, or kidney disease is another big one. He has none of those as far as we know, and has normal blood pressure. All bode well, and he's in pretty good shape from what we hear.
We're also hearing from Vice President Mike Pence, who tweeted, "Karen and I send our love and prayers to our dear friends, President Trump and First Lady Melania. We join millions across America praying for their full and swift recovery. God bless you, President Trump, and our wonderful First Lady Melania." Now, the President had a couple of events on his schedule today, Todd and Jillian. There was a fundraising event in D.C. Then he was going to travel to Florida tonight for a rally. Those have been canceled. And, you know, I was just stumbling there into our first hit because the news is coming fast and furious. But we're trying to sort of look back and see when Vice President Pence was last in contact with the President. And it appears it was at a coronavirus event in the Rose Garden on Monday. Remember the President announcing that 150 million tests being sent to the nation. One thing is for sure, as we wait to hear more from the White House and perhaps from the President's critics, this is going to change both the trajectory perhaps of the race. There's only 32 days to November 3rd, as well as what happens right now with the President, because while he is quarantining with the First Lady, protecting the President will be of utmost protocol, and certainly he will have to continue to do the job of the leader of the free world. How he will do that, will he hold virtual events, can he talk with those around him? I'm trying to get a sense from White House staff how they're reacting and what protocols may change as they come into work today. Perhaps the White House will take some notes from how Prime Minister Boris Johnson of Britain handled things when back in April he was in intensive care for 3 days in the hospital for the better part of a week as he tried to handle coronavirus. Obviously, the President having asymptomatic symptoms right now, so in a much better shape than Johnson. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, Griff, you did touch on one of the questions I have, which is when was the last time Vice President Pence was in close direct contact with the President, because as you know, that would have ramifications then for the vice presidential debate scheduled next week. The other thing, Griff, right as you pulled up that tweet from Mike Pompeo, we actually did hear, this is breaking news, that the Secretary of State and his wife have both tested negative, so I'm sure that those results are going to be coming in over the course of the next few hours for a lot of people who are in close contact with the President, Griff.
And the Pompeo one, Jillian, is really important because he, of course, conducts the nation's foreign policy. by testing negative, that means that he could carry out face-to-face meetings or some of the events that the president might have been scheduled to attend or to deal with. Because not only does this news have far-reaching implications for both the president and first lady's health, but the November 3rd election, but also national security and foreign policy. As they say, the show must go on, and the show for the leader of the free world conducting the business in the most powerful nation on the planet is certainly one of those, and this certainly, in the pandemic age, will change and alter somewhat.
Griff, thank you. That is a perfect jumping off point to our next guest, Congressman Mark Green, House Committee on Oversight and Reform, GOP Doctors Caucus, and an ER physician. You understand how government works. You understand how medicine works. How does this impact the president's ability to be the leader of the free world, like Griff said, from a national security perspective?
Thanks for having me on the show, guys. Really appreciate it. And, of course, before I go into that, I want to just send Cammie and my wishes to the president. We'll be praying for he and Melania. You know, from a functionality standpoint, the president is asymptomatic at this point, as I understand it, so there'll be no disruption whatsoever. He'll be able to do his job. He's just stuck in his, for worst thing you could ever do to Donald Trump, stick him in, he's quarantined. He can't go anywhere. So, but they have all of the capacity, right there in the White House. He can make all the decisions, get all the information he needs to make those decisions. Plus, he's got a, pretty good team.
We are 32 days away from a crucial election. What does this do? I mean, look, you look at a quarantine, right? I mean, arguably it's going to be the next roughly about 14 days that he's in quarantine, depending on how this plays out. Obviously, this information is still so new at this point. What does this do for the course of the next few weeks and the next 32 days specifically?
Well, certainly it means the president, will have to be in the White House, so his connections with everyone will all be, electronic.